So I'm going to show you what the issue is. Okay, so I'm going to go into the network for this thing. There we go. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess here. Okay, so we're going to log into this, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. There we go. Okay, so we're into the network interface on here. Now, take a note of this. This is the LAN interface right here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring up that little USB camera again over here in the corner. Let's see here. Can I bring that up? There we go. So let's hope that that doesn't crash my video. Is it OBS doing this? See, just son of a bitch. Okay, so we'll just work with this. Okay, so as you can see, this interface here, this is the WAN interface, aka LAN, which this is the LAN interface here, as you can see. So this is the 10.0.0.217 IP address. That's programmed with a static IP for the client's internal network. Down at the bottom there, you're going to see the, let's see here, you're going to see the IP down at the bottom, 192.168.0.1. That is this interface right here with the white cable plugged into it, okay? So now I'm going to switch back over for a second. So we're going to leave that camera on there, and I'm going to disable the ripsaw and bring on the Windows capture. Okay, so now we are into, let's see here, I gotta go over to this now. Again, I'm kind of working on this, so let's figure this out. So right now, as you can see, if I release, let me simplify this for you, I'll put it in detail mode. So this guy here, if I release, as you can see, it's not pulling an IP address, okay? So, now watch what happens if I go back over here for a second. I'm going to switch over to OBS so I can watch this for a second. So now I'm going to, so that's the port that's supposed to be issuing DHCP IP addresses. Now watch. I've now plugged it into the top port, okay? Now let's go back over here for a second. Oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Look. So I just plugged that in. Now look here carefully. Do you see the IP address is 10.0.0.80? When I click on this thing, I'll get the details about this. Look, status. The DHCP server's IP is 10.0.0.217. Do you see that? Interesting that that's the primary DNS. I'm not sure why. So, again, look at that IP address for a second, okay? Now, let's go back over to OBS for a second here. I'm going to bring up the, here we go, ripsaw. Okay, so you see the IP address there, 10.0.0.217? Notice that it's assigned to the LAN interface. Literally the only interface that you can enable DHCP client on, or program in a static IP, static subnet, and static gateway on. Notice that if I go back over here to my screen capture, that IP address there is the DHCP server's IP address. Let's go back over here. Do you see something in common? That's right, the LAN interface, which is technically the WAN interface. The LAN interface here is your external interface connected to the external network, not the camera network. It has that address, which means that the DHCP server is bound to that interface, which it should not be. Okay, it has to be bound to the IP interface at the bottom there, okay? Now, the reason why that is I'll show you if I can get this bloody thing to work properly. If I disable that, can I get this to work again? I'm really disappointed in this ripsaw. Okay, let's deactivate this again. Activate it and pray that it works. Come on. It seems that I have to turn settings on and off to get this bloody thing to work. Okay. So let's see here. Let's turn off custom audio device and see if now it starts working. Nope, still not working. Really have a hate on right now for this piece of garbage. Let's see if that does it. Really? Okay, so now look. Here's the problem. See these two IP addresses here? I'm going to enable this USB one up in the top corner. Okay. So, you can, on this interface here, Just disable that again. Come on. I've clicked on RS. Ripsaw. Come on, Ripsaw. Work, you bloody piece of garbage. Turn it off. Let's try, the old turn it off, turn it back on trick. No, it's not going to do it for me. Bloody hell. Okay. The problem that we have here, let's go back over to the camera. Okay, so this interface here, again, that is the external interface for the device. That one, you can change the IP address on to 10.0.0.217 or whatever your heart's content is to get it to talk to your internal equipment. The other thing you can also do with it is that you can actually set it up to enable DHCP client, which means that this interface can receive a dynamic address from your router, which you can actually make it a static address. I can go into that in another video. This one down here, on the other hand, has a fixed address. You can only pick 10.0.0.1 for this address, or 192.168.0.1. That poses a lot of problems. The biggest problem is that if you put it on a network that's 192.168.0.1, you may run into issues, because this is basically Linux, and this could cause internal routing issues on here, especially if it's a gateway issue in the OS itself. The other problem is that you literally cannot connect that other interface into a private network, because if you do, it becomes the gateway, which means that all the other devices on the network will see that as the gateway. Okay? So you cannot switch these interfaces around. So now let's go back over here, and we'll demonstrate this again, okay? So I'm going to turn off the Ripsaw because it's a piece of shit. And we'll go over here for a second. You'll notice, okay? Notice here. That's the IP address that it's getting from the LAN interface. If I unplug this right now, it should dump the IP. Let's give it a second. I'll just do it manually. Let's go over here. Okay, we'll go release. See that? Renew. As you can see, there's nothing connected to the interface. Now, let's connect it to this bottom interface, the 192.168.0.1 interface, okay? Release. Renew. Nothing. And just something else that you guys can see here is, watch this. I'm going to pull this up over here, just so you know that I'm not screwing with you. 1 gigabit per second status, okay? You see that? I'm going to unplug this again. Unplugged. Okay, now watch. Plug it in here to the LAN interface, and it just pulled an IP address. So that just demonstrated the problem. Now we're going to try to do the fix, okay? I'm really hoping that I can make the bloody Ripsaw work now in this case, because if I can't, then I can't properly demonstrate this. So we're going to close everything there, and let's just see if I can make this stupid thing work. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is, you guys can, I'm going to switch over to the digital camera and throw that on there again. Okay, so I've got a USB hub here. Okay, so I'm going to plug this thing in here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to back up the configuration on this thing, okay? I really wish I could show you what I'm doing on the camera system, but as you know, the Razer Ripsaw is an absolute pile of garbage, okay? Just know that. Okay, so I'm going to just go over to here for a second. Maybe I can do this. It's going to suck, but whatever, you know, desperate times. Okay, so here we go. So I'm just going to do this, okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a backup. I've got the USB stick plugged in. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to go configuration. And I'm going to export, okay? I've just saved the configuration file to the stick. Question is it entirely the Ripsaw's fault, or is this just... No, it looks like it might just be a crappy, really crappy device. Export. Isn't that interesting, eh? This is a really high quality camera system. Let's try that again. Plugging that in. Let's do an export. No, alright, well let's just try a different USB stick then if this thing's going to be picky. Yeah, let's try this. Export. Well, what do you know? It worked on that one. Okay, so that just exported to there. I'm going to copy the firmware over on the computer because we're going to try a couple of quick experiments here. Okay, what they wanted me to try to do is, let me just see here. They wanted me to try resetting this thing back to factory default. Oh, crap. Nothing works properly ever. That's what I love with technology. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to teach myself all this garbage. Alright, so here we go. Let's copy this. We're gonna move it over to right here. Okay. Now let's eject that drive. Here we go. Alright, so now that we've got this file on here, first thing that we're going to try, folks, is I'm just going to do something very simple. I am going to set this thing back to factory default. Okay. So if I set this thing to factory default, I've been told that this will probably solve the problem. So we're going to do the same experiment again in a minute. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to disconnect the Ethernet cable. I'm going to bring the camera back up for you. Here we go. You know what I'm almost thinking? Just because that Razer is such a pile of shit. Ironically, you know what's funny is that the image from the DVR is actually being fed into the ripsaw, which then feeds into the screen here. Let's see if I can position that a little bit better like that. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Let's see if that works. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so this thing just crashed, as you can see, which doesn't surprise me because this thing actually crashed a few times while I was trying to get it going. Now, since that screen is buggered up anyway, I'm just going to get rid of the ripsaw, which is useless, and I'm going to make that bigger. Okay, so this thing crashed again. This thing, I noticed one of the biggest problems with it is it crashed constantly when I was trying to use it at the customer's site, which was very embarrassing because I kept having to make up excuses for them and say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it did that, which is BS. I know why it did that because it's a really crappy DVR. Okay, so let's see now. Here we go. Remember, folks, you get what you pay for. Okay, so we're into the screen now. I should probably tilt this. The webcam that I'm using is not amazing, just FYI. This is just a cheap Logitech that I'm using right now. So let me just see if I can compensate for the overbright somehow. There we go. That works. Okay, let's bring this back a little bit. Okay, so now this thing is factory defaulted again, okay? You can see that. So let's go back over to network. There we go. So as you can see, this thing is asking for DHCP addresses right now, and this interface is set up like this. So let's go back over to OBS. Can I actually turn this thing on now? Will this actually work? Signal out of range. Of course it is, you pile of garbage. Let's see if I can change the video on it. So it doesn't do 720p. Let's see if it'll do, there we go, let's try that. Device, I only want HDMI out. Apply. Okay, signal should not be out of range anymore, but hey, look at that, the ripsaw still doesn't work. Am I surprised? No. Look at that. It's just, wow. What a quality piece of recording equipment, right? Let's see here. Deactivate. Reactivate. Man, you piece of garbage. Okay, let's just see if I can make it stable for now. No, it crashed again. I'm so sorry. This is a good video, though, because we're also learning what capture products actually really work and what don't. And clearly the RipSaw is a piece of junk. Unless somebody out there is an expert on it and show me what I'm doing wrong here, we're just going to have to use a shitty webcam, which I set up so that I could show you this. Okay, so first things first, let's go back to, we're going to turn that off, and actually I'll put it back here for a second because I want to bring up the Windows capture, okay? So we've got our interfaces here. So I'm just going to get rid of a couple of things here just to tidy things up a little bit. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to make this smaller. There we go. And then I can do this. So now I should be able to see that in OBS. Yes, that looks great. So first things first, there is nothing connected here. So I'm going to release this, because as you can see, it's not connected. Link partner advertising. See, there's nothing connected there. Renew. Nothing. Now watch this. Okay, let's try this first. So first things first, let's plug into the bottom one and see if it gives me an IP address, okay? We're connected. There you go. 10.0.0.1. Okay? So I'm going to go back over to the screen for a second here, and we'll go set up network. And if you look here in OBS, you'll go back over to OBS for a second, you will see that I am actually plugged into the bottom jack, okay? This is how it should be working, okay? Now, let's plug it into the top jack and see if it does the same thing. Alright, we're going to try to find the source of this actual issue. This is the key factor here, right? Okay, so we're going to go back over to Winbox here. Going to release, renew. Yeah, notice it seems to be working properly, right? Isn't that weird? Okay, so now let's do a couple of custom tweaks here. Okay, so we're going to customize this. So now, let's go over to this now. I really hope you can see what I'm doing, because this is just a really shitty capture card. I'm going to try to maximize this. Alright, so what I'm going to attempt to do here, is there nothing I can do to make that look better? I am so sorry. Let's see here. Configure advanced settings. Right light. Let's see if that does it. Gain. Auto.
Still a bunch of them are hiding out there.
There we go. Anti-flicker, NTSC 60. Image orientation. Nope. White balance. There we go.
Shit, it's like, say it's on and off here. If we like run southeast, I think one of them might be running up.
There we go. Okay, so that's better. So now you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to go to this screen here. I know it's blurry, but again, I was trying to prepare for this with this RipSaw, which is junk. I'm going to turn off DHCP client. I'm going to give it an arbitrary IP address. We're going to give it 192.168. Whoops. Oh, that's already got the dots in there. 168.0.1 or 0.5. Okay. All right, there we go. And then no gateway. We're going to hit apply. I have a feeling that the DHCP server is bound to the 10.0 IP address, okay? So now let's switch back over here. I'm going to turn this guy off for a second. I'm going to hit OK on this thing. Okay, so those settings should be saved. Okay, I'm going to pull up network again. So now let's do a little experiment here. So we're going to go back over to this guy here. Then we're going to release and renew. Still nothing. So now let's move it over to the other jack now. So we go to the bottom jack again. So now I'm on the bottom jack. Let's see if it gives me an IP address. There we go, 10.0.0.1. Okay, that is very interesting, isn't it, folks? Okay, I'm going to unplug this and release. Now we're going to try another little experiment. So again, we're working our way through this to try to find out where the issues are actually coming from. Okay, so let's switch this to 192.168. See, that's what I'm talking about. Same IP range. Hey, you can't have the two interfaces have the same IP addresses, and I told you that. Okay, you can't. So now we're going to swap these. People don't like to listen to me. Let's do this again. 217. Okay. 254. Oh. There we go. Okay, apply. Okay, so now it's going to reboot, and this is probably going to crash in the process because every time I've had to do a reboot or a setting change, as you can see, the system crashes. Sometimes it retains the settings, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so we'll give it a second here. No, it's crashed. Okay, let's power cycle it. This is quality, man. Quality. Alright, booting up. Alright, she is booted up now, okay? So, I'm going to go back to network here. I think there's one thing I forgot to do. Nope, the Dhcp is disabled now, so this is pretty much back the way that it was now. See that? Back the way it was. Let's go back over here now. So I'm going to move that there. Let's plug this cable here, first of all, into the bottom one. Is it going to get an IP address? It's connected. Are you going to pull an IP address? Renew. No. Look at that. It's not. But I'll bet you $10. When I move this over here, watch this. Look at that. I know exactly what the problem is here. The programmer could have either been lazy or just overlooked it, but look. They bound the DHCP server to the 10.IP address up there, not to the 192.168 address. So let's try one last experiment here, okay? I'm going to unplug this, and then we're just going to try updating the firmware and see if they caught it in a later release. Let's do this. We're going to try another local subnet. Arbitrary number. Here we go. Let's see if it crashes again. Nope, we're going to hit OK. Is it going to crash? No. Okay, so let's try this again now. Let's see what happens here. Alright, so we're going to go back over here to the OBS computer. Cable. Bottom. The bottom support, as I demonstrated before, that should be giving out the IP addresses, okay? I'm not seeing it. It is not giving out an IP address, but if I go to the top now, is it going to give out a 10 IP? Or is it going to give it a 172 IP? Because I have a feeling that the DHCP server is locked to 10.0. Let's see what happens. I'm right. I am absolutely right. Okay, so what's happening here is the programmer actually assigned the DHCP server, not to the physical interface. They didn't set it up to actually mirror the credentials on this, or the settings on this interface here. They assigned it to 10.0. That's why when it's set for 192.168.0.1, this interface stops issuing IP addresses, and this one starts issuing IP addresses. And as one last experiment, let's try this. We're going to unplug this. I'm going to change this to DHCP so that this interface is now pulling a DHCP address. And by the way, only being able to choose these two is very bad. You should be able to program this to any subnet you want, because you can't have the two on the same subnets. Linux does not like that. Alright, here we go. Here goes nothing. Okay, so now, here we go. This is now set up to receive DHCP. That's set up to issue it. Okay, so we're going to go back over here to the computer. Release. Okay. I'm plugging into the bottom first, okay? The one that's issuing the IP addresses. Will it issue an IP? Okay, the interface is synced. No. Look at that. Renew. It's not. And if I connect it to this interface, is it going to issue an IP? Or did the DHCP server go tits up when it saw that there was 2 on it? Would you look at that? Even with DHCP enabled on that interface, it's still issuing IP addresses. Okay, so we've established this. The DHCP setting on this server is wrong. It's bound to the 10.0.0 IP range when it should be bound to the physical interface. This is poor scripting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to try to reflash it and see if we can solve the issue that way, okay? So I'm going to go back over to OBS here, and I'm hoping that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. I promise you, I'm working so hard to get better equipment for doing this sort of stuff so I can do really interesting things. I've got the flash drive plugged in right now, so let's go to System. We're going to go to Configuration, and we're going to go Upgrade. It should find the firmware file. There it is. Yes. Let's see what happens when I upgrade the firmware on this. Hopefully they've caught the bug and they're fixing it, or they've fixed it. Okay, let's try this. Let's see if it crashes mid-process. It's always great when something crashes while it's updating its own firmware, because when that happens, it just kills everything. It just goes to hell. Okay, let's see here. I hope I haven't been recording on 2 interfaces. That would really suck. Alright, check some okay. That's a good sign. Okay, it's rebooting. Let's see if it boots properly this time. Did they update their logo yet? I don't know. The logo, having a logo that's made in Microsoft Paint doesn't look very professional. Nah, it's still the rinky-dink Mickey Mouse logo that was there before. Alright, she's booting up. Let's see if they've caught the bug and fixed it. If not, well, heh. What I've done as a workaround is I actually put a router, a MikroTik router, in between the NVR and the network that it's connected to currently, and I'm dropping all ARP traffic and blocking what is it, UDP 6768, TCP 6768, to make sure that it's not issuing DHCP across the router. So the router's acting as a buffer to make sure that this thing doesn't pollute the network it's connected to with DHCP, whatever. This heatsink's also really light duty. This thing's pushing a lot of video. It's going to get rather hot. In fact, let's find out what the temperature is right now. Just, while we're waiting for this thing to update its firmware. Do I have a probe here? I do have a probe here. Alright, let's grab my multimeter and plug her in. Plus and minus. Here we go.
You control stand one. It's actually a lot quieter than crowd walking.
I'll just put my phone adapter here. Okay, move this stuff aside. Alright, so we want to set this for temperature. Let's see what the operating temperature is on this thing. I need a sticky pad. Here we go. That's a little CPU. It's an APU. There's all sorts of stuff. Alright, yeah, it feels pretty warm. What are you up to? 38? Yeah. That's just basically, that is literally, it almost looks like it's hand cut or just punched piece of aluminium there. And that's just folded up a couple of times. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 folds in it. That's it. To make that what it is. So this thing runs at a fairly high temperature, the CPU on it. Which I don't think that's a very good thing. Because if the temperature's high on this thing, it'll just burn the chip out over time, okay? So, let's see what we got now. Let's see if it's updated now. Okay. Well, the layout definitely changed. Configuration 2.3.4, great. Okay, so here we are. We're back here. I'll put this aside for a second so that we can see what the temperature is. Tilt, tilt, tilt. There we go. Right there. Okay, so we're going to plug this guy in first. I'm going to move this over for a second, by the way. Alright. FYI, this thing's drawing about 8 amps, or 8 watts, sorry, while it's running. Okay, so I'm plugging into the interface that's supposed to be issuing DHCP. And if you notice here as well, it looks like they finally changed this so that you can actually change the internal subnet IP. That's great. And would you look at that? Would you look at that magic right there? Huh? Look at that. It's working now. That's issuing the IP address. Alright, let's change this IP address now. We're gonna fiddle before I test the other interface, okay? Let's go 172.16.0.1, okay? Same IP range, eh? No, it's not. Let's try that again. Let's go 172.1. Oh, sorry. That's why. 16.0.1. Same IP. So it looks like I found yet another bug in their programming. See, there's no IP here, right? Let's try that again. Let's try making it 10.0.1.1. It'll take that one though, won't it? I'll bet you that this is running Docker or something similar inside that's using a 172 IP. So we're going to go apply. Okay, let's reboot the system and let's see if this thing hangs again. Because this is one of the main issues that I've had with this thing as well, is that when you reboot it, it hangs. Very, very irritating, by the way. Yeah, look at that. It's hard locked. Temperature's 45 degrees. Alright, let's unplug the power to this thing and plug it back in. Alright, she's booting up. Alright, so as she boots up, I'm going to try doing a release for new on here. And then once we see that it will take the new IP range, then we are going to try the other port and see if the other port still has a DHCP server running on it, because that's my concern. Okay, so notice that I changed the IP here. Okay, watch. We're going to go back over here to Winbox. Release. Renew. There. It's issuing a 10.0.1 IP. That's what you want. So I'm going to unplug this now. Now first things first, I'm going to leave this set for a DHCP client. Let's plug it in and see what it does. No, it's not pulling an IP address. It's great. Okay, so now let's try this. We're going to do 2 tests here. 192.168.0.10. Okay, see what I'm doing here? Okay. I wish it would dynamically or automatically populate the subnet mask, right? That'd be nice. Okay, apply. Okay. All right, we're going to go back into network here. Okay, so we're in network here. Now let's go back over to the computer. Release renew. So this is not doing the DHCP thing yet. Now for the last test. Let's see if it still binds itself to the wrong IP. Okay, so first we're going to change this to DHCP first just to make sure. Okay, good. Because if I try to change this to the same IP, it will not work. Okay, so let's do this again. 92.168.0.1. Okay. Same IP range. Right. I'm going to have to do this. Might not be able to. Watch this. If I hit OK. Okay, now let's do this. 92.680.1. Let's see how she takes that. Apply. Okay, let's see if she hangs. Oh, looks like she hung again. Yep, she hung. And hung again. See? Bloody thing hangs every time. That is not good for a commercial camera system. Temperature, so we're at 46, so that's really hot to the touch. The hard drive's good, it's not that hot. The RAM's not that hot either. Okay, she's booting up. Let's try this. What's that doing? Is that probe still stuck on there really nicely? Cool. Yeah, database is bad. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Okay, so let's see if that firmware patch resolved our issue. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to try to throw the original configuration back on here. Okay, so I'm going back over here to my machine. We're still plugged into the LAN interface, the one that was causing the issues. No, look at that. Okay, so that part's solved. Let's try that. It's negotiated, it's synced, and it pulls an IP. So the firmware patch fixed the DHCP issue, but it didn't fix the crash issue. Alright, so now let's reinstall the configuration that was previously on it, okay? So we're going to go to configuration, import. There it is right there. Okay. I can't tell. Did it upload it? Alright, it's rebooting now. Okay, let's change the resolution. Okay, so this is all working now. Okay, so this is the original configuration that was on it, which means I'll have to... Oh, didn't change the password. Okay, so this is all programmed. I still like the fact that I can change this manually now. This is great. We're going to try one last test on that before I'm done. Okay, so let's go back over here. I'm going to do a release. Renew. Look at that. Look at that. It's actually... that interface is now working. So now let's do this. Okay, we're plugging into the LAN interface. Release. So the DHCP bug has been fixed. But there is one other test I want to make. Let's see if I can actually make this any subnet that I want. Let's make it 2.3.3.1. Will it take it? It will. There, look at that. Locked up again. Okay, we'll just reboot it again, not a big deal. So we know it wasn't the configuration file. We have now just proved thoroughly, and by the way, this is a boring video if you watch it all the way through. Thank you very much. We have confirmed that the previous firmware was what was causing the issue. If you want to know which firmware release it was that was causing the issue on this device, go back to the beginning of the video and you'll see it on the screen before my Razer Ripsaw crashed. Okay, I gotta work out the bugs on that thing because I really need an HDMI interface for this. Okay, so we're gonna go back in here, setup, network. Ah, good, there. So after a reboot, it actually managed to remember its password. Here we go. So we're back in here. Let's go back over to the computer. Release, renew. It's not taking it. Great. But here, let's plug into the internal port on it now and see if it matches the IP address that I programmed in. It does. Okay, so they fixed the DHCP server issue on that, but there's still a minor issue with the system locking up. Okay, system log. What does it even say for that? Configuration. Alright. So that's all there is, folks. This is what happened when I hit shut down. Alright, so it hard locked right there again. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, she's hard locked. Look at that. I'm moving the mouse, it's not doing anything, so we gotta pull the power cable out. Alright, so there you go, folks. I made this video. It wasn't necessarily as an educational video for you guys at all, and I can't say who the manufacturer is of this NVR because they brought it to me to troubleshoot the issue, and I'm sorry if I was shit talking the whole time, but it makes it more entertaining, right? It's nothing personal. Okay, so now I just need to restore this thing back to its previous state so that it can be used for a future project, which I will show you guys that on camera because it'll only take me a minute. And this camera here is not my usual one. I'm picking your nose. This is actually just a crappy webcam that I had lying around that I figured I'd throw on here specifically for this purpose. So I'm going to unplug our USB now. And then the last thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to pull this off, okay? One of the reasons why I'm doing this on camera is so that the engineers who had me work on this can see that clearly I am not screwing around. I want them to know that I'm not a hack per se. So there you go. Okay, so we're just gonna wait for that to preheat. Okay. Oops. Okay, here we go. Should almost be heated. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull the solder off of this and then just put a new little blob of solder on it just to make it clean. There we go. Another noteworthy detail is that the USB ports on here are not using a standard pinning, even though the header on that's the USB ports here is actually a standard PC type header. I'll show you that in just a second. So while we're preheating, see that? That's the USB header. That's a pretty standard PC USB header, except it's got that pin there. The negatives here and the positives here, they're on the far outside, and then God knows which pins are actually the data plus and minus. I could not figure it out for the life of me, which made it a pain in the ass, and I had to use a USB hub. Thankfully, hey guys, you did an amazing job on allowing us to use an external USB hub with this thing. Thank you. Because as you saw, that was very useful for using a single port to do troubleshooting on a motherboard. So there we go. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Here we go. Alright, so now I'm just going to put a tiny bit of solder on here just to restore it back to its previous state, make it nice and pretty. A little bit of solder there, beautiful. And a little bit of solder on there, beautiful. A little bit. There, that's pretty. Okay, good. She's back to her previous state. No scuffs or scratches on the board. Now I can take my ISO, which is somewhere. I can move my view screen back now, which actually now you got to see the screen which I look at when I'm doing my top-down videos. Give me 1 second to find my ISO here. There it is. Okay, so let's see here. There we go. Should we get all the flux off of that? There we go. And where's my brush? I'm just going to get a little bit of this off of here so I can just get the hair and whatnot off the board. Alright, so as you can see, this has been completely restored to its previous state. I did not damage or modify it in any way. Here it is. There's the board in its whole. It's actually kind of a cool design. I really like the design of this board physically. You've got a VGA port RS-232 for a PTZ or just general interfacing. A spot port, so you can actually put this on over a coaxial cable to a 40-inch monitor or whatever, so that you can have it cycle through different images or cameras. USB 3 for external storage. HDMI, eSATA for external storage. 2 Ethernet ports. Here is for the relays, the relay outs, and the motion sensor in, if you want to tie physical motion sensors into it to trigger cameras and whatnot. Yeah, and then look at this. This is the best part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 ports on there specifically for cameras. That means you can put 4 cameras on each dedicated hard drive, or you can just, you know, make a JBOD and combine all the hard drives to make one big one. I think you can also do RAID with this as well, but it's pretty cool. And there's the hard drive right there, the ROM with the OS. Here's your RAM. What are we running here for RAM anyway? I'm just curious about that. So what do we got here? I could look this up, but I'm, you know, tired, and you guys are probably bored of this video by now. It looks like it's an, I think it's an 8 gig chip. Let's see here, so it'll be 860. So it looks like, no, there's no way that's an 8 gig chip. I think there's 2 or 4 gigabytes of RAM on this. It might actually be 1 gig, so I think there might be 4 gigs of RAM on this board. We've got Realtek gigabit Ethernet chips right here. I believe those are the SATA controllers actually. And that's all she wrote, folks. So there is my analysis, troubleshooting, and repair of this NVR board that had some foul firmware on it. She's good to go. This is going to go back to the shop, and it'll be used as a backup board for the next time that an NVR has an issue. I'd like to thank the company that approached me to resolve this issue for them. And yeah, I'd like to also say thank everybody and say, yeah, your board is now, your issue's resolved. You guys can now fix this problem in the factory. So everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching. I hope that I didn't bore you too much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any suggestions in the comments below. If you know how to make that stupid friggin' ripsaw work properly, or you can point out that I was clearly doing something wrong and how I should fix what I was doing wrong, please either PM me or send me a comment, okay? Thanks guys, and have a great night. We'll see you later.